This is the 22nd season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. We are in studio for a full week of shows. We actually have a bonus show. We're going to run a Brandon Cobb show on Friday. Dave Lefebvre talking about, he did it right. There's very few guys that have done the old six-figure check and then dipped. And it just so happened that he, wasn't fishing the BPT or the pro circuit or anything this year. Actually, was getting a coffee shop together that opened soon there in Pennsylvania. And then a really cool story. If you hadn't had a chance to listen to it, I know he's done some other podcasts, but he had his boat sitting outside of his house for 6 months after the last BPT of 2025 with the rods and reels still on the deck. And a week before the tournament, went and dumped it in the marina. All the graphs fired up. He got some new batteries in it. Everything went. He fished. He found the stuff, and then he won $200,000 on the final day, and he gets to bank it. Like, he didn't have any entry fees because it was heavy hitters, and he basically took it to the house. The closest I can remember to this, and correct me if I'm wrong, like a big money check, and he even fished a couple years after this, but just based on winnings and then just not chasing the carrot, was when Michael Bennett won the Forest Wood Cup. He won an FLW event. He fished for a year. I think he ended up with Febreze for a year, and then he just took it to that. He just hung it up. And I think he was ahead. But a lot of times, the big win leads to getting back in. But yeah, that was one of the things Dave was talking about. He's like, it's nice not to have a $60,000 or $55,000 in entry fees and all this stuff heading in. He's just got it. So someone else he's had a big check before, a really big check. And he's still doing it, but then he's also got a tackle business. Like our guest today, and I'll say it and he can hear and say it, the sneakiest, best interview in bass fishing. Like, if you run into Cliff Pace when he's at a tournament mode, when he's doing things, potentially not the chattiest cat that you're ever going to run across, but you get him kind of in his wheelhouse. I know he's done a lot of stuff on Bass After Dark with Ken Duke. He's been on BTL before. We've had him on that. One of the best minds when it comes to on the water and the industry and the bait making stuff. I'll just bring him in now while I'm talking good about him. You can't disagree with that, though, Cliff. You feel you've got a pretty good handle on a lot of this industry. You have okay, maybe not the media side, but the bait side, the manufacturing side, the industry side, the fishing side. You've got a unique handle on it that a lot of other guys that are in this game don't have. Fair assessment?
Well, that's always been my passion, man. And I think that's what's driven me. I grew up wanting to be a professional fisherman. That was my idol. All my friends all their idols were football players or baseball players, and all the old school professional fishing names that we all know and love and remember. And I've always been a hands-on guy. So manufacturing and building tackle kind of turned in from a hobby into a business with Black Label and Balsa and a couple other brands that I have and have had. Had a big hand in V&M and still help those guys a lot. But yeah, I'm not saying that I understand it better than anybody else. I would never say that about myself, but I do carry a lot of irons in my hands every day, and I feel like I do fairly well with all of them. Occasionally one falls through the crack, but most of the time we get it done. And I think one of the biggest things that separates me, a lot of people that are in my close circle of friends and all, the thing they say about me the most is, you just outwork them. That's it. That's what I do. I'm a very motivated person, personality wise. I find joy and success in things, be it fishing, be it in my businesses, and I'm very driven to see that happen. And I think that's probably the biggest difference. It's not really that I'm some kind of genius or super intelligent human being. I'm just willing to get in the mud when other people won't sometimes.
You mentioned you grew up on it. Name your guys growing up? Like who were your guys that you were like, this is the guy?
That's kind of a cool story for me. And here's why, and this is the truth. And it's one thing that our sport offers that no other sport I think really does. And it's because, and I think it's starting to kind of, it's gonna become lesser. But if you back up like 20 years ago, and it's hard for me to say that I started over 20 years ago. I can remember some of the first resumes I wrote to try to obtain sponsorship and stuff. One of my biggest selling points in my resume was my youth. I was a guy that I could be with you for a long time. And look, it's been good. Like the shirt that I'm wearing now, I've been with these guys since day one. Every bass I've ever drove to weigh in has been powered by a Yamaha engine for over 20 years without fail. But if you look at the two guys that I really thought the world of when I was really young, one of them is Mark Davis. And when I was young was when Mark had his roller coaster of highs, won the Classic, won Angler of the Year in the same year. And Mark was a guy that was relatable to me. Not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, but there was something about Mark's personality that I just really liked. He was very down to earth, and he explained things well. And when you're young and you're trying to learn, he was a guy that, I just enjoyed reading about. And I got to meet Mark when I was real young. Mark came and spoke at basically a Christian benefit bass tournament that we had in the Mobile Delta. And a friend of mine called me on Friday night. I had no idea Mark was going to be there. I didn't know the tournament was even going on. Mobile's an hour from my house. And his boat motor had blown up. And he asked me if I would come fish a tournament with him. And me and him went and fished a tournament. I think we either won or finished second. But Mark spoke, and he was the MC of the tournament. And I thought that was just so cool to get to meet him. And then, I grew up on the Louisiana Delta. And when the Classic came to the Louisiana Delta for the first time, if you remember, and this was pre-GPS, this was pre all the technology that we had, Gary Klein spent enough time down there to figure out how to run from Bayou Signet all the way to Carnarvon, which, if you're not familiar with that country, that is a feat upon itself. With not 2026 electronics to be able to just crank your boat and do it. Unbelievable. And I'll never forget watching Gary fish the Classic. I think he ended up like one bite away from winning. That's the one that Iaconelli won in Venice. That kind of got his career off the ground and got him jump started. It was the beginning of the screaming Iaconelli. You remember him catching that fish in the cane?
Yeah. That's the never give up.
Yeah, never give up. That's right. But getting to watch Gary fish my home water, right? Because that was an area that I spent a tremendous amount of time in at that point in my life. And it made me really kind of a big Gary Klein fan. Well, here's the cool thing. I got to know both of those guys through my career. I consider both of them to be very dear friends of mine. And as a matter of fact, the three of us actually roomed and traveled together for probably 5 or 7 years. Gary and I roomed for more than that. And then Gary and Mark and I roomed for a long time together. And to get to be able to look at those guys when I was young and then get to know them as I built my career. And neither one of those guys ever treated me like I was lesser or anything. So if I could pick two, and there's a lot of them, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of guys that I have a lot of respect for. But if I was going to just pick two, they're my buddies, so I'd have to pick them.
And they're still going strong. Gary's still fishing. Yeah, pro circuit. Mark Davis still fishing. Yeah, had
a chance to beat Dave the other day.
Yeah,
he was one bite away. Mark accomplishing what he's accomplishing at his age in life on as competitive as this thing has gotten, is probably one of the most incredible things I can say is going on in bass fishing right now. It's not talked about, but it should be. Mark Davis is like, he's just that guy. Like, you say things about me, like I can look at a piece of balsa wood and then I can see what kind of bait I can make out of it. And I can make one that swims really good and performs really well. And I understand it. Mark Davis can look at water like that. Mark's the most natural, talented fisherman that I've ever known. I've learned a lot from him. And, he's probably forgotten more about just natural ability fishing than what most of us are ever going to know.
Yeah. Is he the last of his kind to what I would call he's the last
fisherman?
Well, I'm talking about speed. I've never seen anybody fit like there used to be a whole group of guys that like slow, like, like feel every pebble on it. And like Mark to me is the last guy, and you'll watch him on the BPT. He won't turn his unit on during the period. And I've watched him in person. That dude can fish so slow yet effectively. And I can't in my mind think of anyone else that's like coming up or that's still competing and relevant at the high level that fishes as thoroughly as Mark Davis.
Mark does fish very methodically and very thoroughly, and that is Mark's wheelhouse. When you see tournaments that set up like that, and that I think the reason that's benefited Mark over these years, and you're right, if you back up and look, that used to be the norm, and Van Dam changed that.
Yep.
The Van Dam era of speed and efficiency with speed and the success that he had made a lot of anglers start adjusting their game and developing games that kind of went along with what he has. But Mark stayed Mark. Mark never changed his ways. But, we fish so many events now that are based around the spawn. If you look at our schedule, every year it's like we start in the very bottom of the South and it's spawn adjacent. And then as we move north, it's almost like you chase the spawn. Some years more so than others, but that time of the year is when that slowing down and being real methodical can really pay off. And I think that's what's helped Mark stay so relevant through all these years is the way our schedules have set up. And don't get me wrong, Mark's probably the best structure fisherman, natural structure fisherman. I mean, I put him right up there with Fritz, right?
Really?
I mean, he's on that level with it. But when it comes to springtime, you don't want to fish behind Mark Davis because he just ain't going to leave much.
No. And you pointed this out, and I didn't realize this, but like if you look at his finishes on the Bass Pro Tour, and we're talking in an area where they've cut to 50,
dude,
where
it's crazy what he's done.
31st, 27th, 39th, 49th, 32nd, 12th, 29th, and 47th. And that's against the Whiz Kids, the Wizards, all the electronics. And he has a top 10. This is what I also didn't realize. Since 2021, he has had a top 10 every season year, except 2024.
I'm telling you, it's a story that you need to get him on here. You need to get him on here.
Oh, well, he's the best storyteller ever, too. But I really need to focus on his fishing and not him telling get him away from the stories and talk about what he's doing on the water, because you're right that he is making what is no doubt a dying art.
It has been an overlooked phenomenon, success story that is not being talked about that should be.
Yeah, he's made 5 of the last Red Crests. I mean, I remember when he went back to the Elite Series, he had that year that was just unreal. Like he was just top 10ing everything, and it was like, everyone was saying like, "Holy cow, this is like classic AOY Mark Davis."
I'm telling you, Mark Davis is one of the most gifted natural fishermen that we have ever seen in our generation.
One of the things I don't think a lot of people realize about you, Cliff, is you basically started right around that time that we're talking about, 2002, 2003, the Ike and Elliott, the Never Give Up class. But you won 2 of the first 10 opens that you ever fished in.
I won 2 of the first 5.
I don't think people know that about you.
No, I won 2 of the first 6. I won 1 each of the 2 years that I fished. I qualified.
Oh yeah, because in 2022 you probably fish as a co-angler.
That's correct. I did.
So then in 2023, you won your second one, and then the third one in 2024. That's insane, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, it was a meant to be deal for me. I've been very blessed to do what I do. This is one of those things that I've just followed my passion through life and followed my heart, what I love, and the good Lord has let it work out for me. I look back at one of those events and I realize what they did for me as far as just getting me established, giving me the financial means. I qualified for the elites like 2 or 3 years in a row and did not fish because I was honestly not in a position financially that I felt like that's what I needed to do. And finally, I think the 3rd year that I qualified, a friend of mine came to me and he said, "I tell you what," he said, "I know you want to fish." He said, "I'll pay your expenses and all your entry fees, and you just give me whatever you win." And I said, "Nah." When he said that, I said, "Nah, I think I'm going to do it on my own." And I did, and I've been doing it ever since. The the step in that, you know, when you look at fishing like 20 years ago, and this is something else that's not really being talked about, and I'm not saying this is good or bad, but when you look at fishing 20 years ago, guys like me were the norm. You know, guys that wanted to do it but didn't necessarily have the financial means to do it. We made lots of sacrifices. We slept in our pickup trucks. We did whatever was necessary to do it. And then now, I mean, we fish tournaments around home, and it's not uncommon now for a 19-year-old to pull up with a $150,000 bass boat pulled by a $100,000 pickup truck, and it's like, wow, wow, has this changed? Because when I was him, I was hoping that when I got to the lake that my motor would crank so that I could fish. But the sport has definitely changed in a very big way as far as the amount of youth that's getting into it at such an early age. They're extremely competitive. They spend an extreme amount of time on the water, which is what makes them competitive. That's what makes everybody competitive. I'm going to throw this in there too. A lot of guys have, blame technology on the new force that is the youth. And don't get me wrong, that is a piece of it. But even if you took that away, if you give these younger anglers the passion that they have and the financial means and the unlimited time and resources to spend day after day after day after day on all these bodies of water across the country, fine-tuning their skills, it might be different names. I'm not saying it wouldn't, but you would still have a very dominant group of youth anglers coming into this sport with or without the electronics that we have. It might be different guys, but you give them that amount of time, put them on the water that amount of time, some of them are going to rise to the top.
So how much time on the water were you spending in 2008 to 2011? You had like 31 Elite Series, some opens in there. You cashed a check in 29 of them. I mean, you went 29 for 30.
Correct.
For 31. Like, that's an insane streak. How much time during that, were you spending on the water?
A lot, like daily, just about. I didn't really have I hadn't built my business yet, so there was no time restraint from that. Black Label didn't exist at that point in time. And I fished a tremendous amount, probably 4 to 5 days a week.
Wow.
And that's what you see now in the dominant force of the youth that we have in our sport now. They're doing the same thing, not fishing more than that.
It's a great point, because I was just at Gunnersville for a couple days, and I was on Gunnersville. Anyway, it was a Tuesday at 3 p.m. And Jacob Wall was out there just screwing around. Tucker Smith was out there.
That's
I think
correct.
Hayden Marbett was and they were it wasn't like they were practicing or doing anything. That's what they were doing, was they were out on the TVA while it was pulling current,
that's
fishing.
That's their day to day.
And you're like, dude, you can't compete with that. And it's not even dedication. It's like I think Gretzky, some of the guys in hockey used to say, if you are forced to be out there and they're saying, what do you mean I have to practice? It was like he wanted to be on the rink for 19 hours a day and cried when his dad was like, hey, we have to thaw your feet out and you have to eat something before we come back to the rink. That's how these kids are in the fishing. It's not like they're at home and someone's saying, hey, you have to go fishing. They're getting out there every day after being on the road for 3 straight weeks.
And during those years that you were talking about, it was the same for me. And I still love it just as much. But I have as my life has grown, it's changed. Everybody's does. I still do fish a tremendous amount. I'm going to fish the Tuesday night fruit jar tonight here at home. Yeah. Fished it last week. Last week was the first one that I've got to fish this year. It was good to see all my buddies. I'm looking forward to seeing them again tonight. They might not be so looking forward to seeing me, but we'll see.
I like it.
No, it's fun. That's the thing about me. I still love fishing just as much now as I did then. Mm-hmm. I'm just as passionate about it. But, I have taken time away from the amount of time I spend on the water. Not really so much. A lot of people probably look at me and say, well, Black Label is what changed the amount of time that Cliff Pace could fish. And it's really not. What changed it more for me than anything else was family. When I won the Classic in 2013, I had my daughter right after that, which is something that I kind of wanted to put off in life. It was something that I wanted to do, but it was something that I put off in life because I knew it was going to take away from. So when I did that, then I wanted to be home more, spend time with her, see her more. So it gave me the time to kind of start building Black Label. And to be honest, if I hadn't fell out of a tree stand and broke my leg and been forced to take a year off tour, Black Label probably would never have existed. But it's like I said earlier, you know, the good Lord had a plan for me. I've just tried to do my best to walk the plan He's had for me, and Black Label was definitely part of my plan.
Were you tinkering before you fell out of the tree stand?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, tinkering start. I mean, dude, I built. Hang on, just say I'll grab this. My wife found this the other day. You'll think this is cool.
Okay, and you can see we're in Cliff's warehouse there with all the stuff in the back.
My wife found this the other day.
Okay.
Okay.
That's an old, for those listening on iTunes, it's an old school Plano box. It's got that kind of milky top to it that you know is scratched, that you can't really see what's in it.
So check this right here out. So
okay, that looks familiar.
Yeah, kind of, but people ask me all the time, they're like, man, how do you build those balsa plugs so pretty? I built this crankbait when I was a senior in high school in 1998. This was my senior project. We had to do something in shop class, a construction project. We had to build a product that we could sell. We got graded on it. And I built a set of balsa baits for my senior project in high school. And they do, dude. This one looks like somebody built it in a closet with a hatchet.
No, you can tell that the Black Label. So the top part of it, like the top part of it, looks still like the paint job. It looks like the paint jobs that you still do.
Yeah, and then here's like an original one that was a crawl, and my crawls now look a lot different than this.
Mm-hmm.
Like you wouldn't reference this to Black Label, but
that was 1998.
That was in 1998. So I've been a tinker my whole life. I mean, I can remember. I mean, so my lead-based business, how that got started, I'll tell you the exact story is, I was buying. You know, back then you couldn't really find a great assortment of products like you could now. There was no tackle warehouse, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could get what your local tackle store had. Walmart had a little bit of stuff. I can remember when I first started traveling, if I found a bait that I liked a lot at home, you know, you would buy them all. You just buy them all, get them all, because you might not be able to find them again for a year. And when I won my first Bassmaster Open, I went and talked to my CPA, and she said, Cliff, you need to spend some money. And I said, how much money do I need to spend? And she told me. And I said, okay. So I bought my very first vulcanizer, spin cast, and lead smelting pot. And I only bought it for me. Okay. The purpose of this was not to.
And how did you know how to buy that? Was there like an old school dude who like had tinkered with it? Or?
Yeah, I knew a couple of guys. There was a gentleman that had a company called Louisiana Lead. I reached out to him, said, hey man, where do I get this equipment? And he told me. And I started going home after work. I mean, I was doing construction then. My family business is a roofing business. So when I wasn't fishing tournaments, I've never not had a job.
Ever. I gotcha.
But
so you bought these things.
I bought this equipment, and I would go home from work every day, and I would sit down and learn how to build a master and mess with trying to build a master set, try to build a mold. The next day I might try to spin it. You know, I played with this stuff for like 2 years. And it was about nothing other than being able to build myself the exact jig or spinner bait or buzz bait or shaky head or whatever was lead built for my own self with the exact hook, style, shape, size, head that I wanted, et cetera, et cetera. And you fast forward me doing that 2 or 3 years at night, I got pretty good at it. And I started, one of my sponsors at the time, which was V&M, started having problems with the company they were doing business with. Not they were having issues with it, but the company was going out of business. And he came to me and said, hey, is there any way you could start manufacturing our jig heads? And that was kind of the beginning of me starting a lead company, you know, a business that did centrifugal casting. And, you know, you fast forward all the years. I broke my leg in 2013. I had a year off. So prior to that, every year I would build, you know, like 50 flat baits and 50 square bill baits and again, it was just for me, and buddies would want them. Friends of mine would, hey man, can you give me 2 or 3 or this or that? So every year I wouldn't have any left at the end of the year. So I'd make 50 more. Well, the year that I broke my leg, I said, man, you know what? I'm fixing to really figure out how to do this. I had some time. I had some spare time. And again, it's like I said earlier, I find fun or enjoyment in the success of things. I like figuring things out. So I I got set up to build balsa base. The year that I broke my leg is
Which
what
was 2014,
2013.
2013. Oh, you broke it the same year that you won the
I
classic.
broke it right before Christmas.
Okay.
The year before, the
So
year that
you've
I
got
won the
multiple
classic.
open wins, established pro, sponsored, classic winner. So you have a lot of the on the water accomplishments checked off.
Fall out of a tree, break your leg, can't fish for a year. Dude, I'm not gonna watch TV for a year. You can forget that. My rehab on my leg was actually like a 7-month process because of the way it shattered the bones and it destroyed my ACL. It was like a 7-month rehab. I begged and begged and begged my doctors to sign a release form for bass so that I could fish. I was going to fish on crutches. I didn't care, and they wouldn't let me.
That was like before Spot Lock too.
Oh yeah, I didn't care. I didn't.
Oh, that would have been miserable.
I was going, dude. If we could go, I was going. I mean, and I'm still that passionate about it. I mean, I can't wait to go to North Carolina next week. But at the same time, you know, as life evolves, things change, and you start putting some of your time and efforts into other things. But you see those things be successful, and you enjoy those things. So it's kind of been a good blend for me. And to be honest, I think truthfully, had I fished as hard, and I think this is something that you're really going to see. You know, you mentioned a few guys earlier, and you know that got in the sport, kind of telling the Lefebvre story of how he won on the end and then bailed. And dude, I love Dave. I think he's a great guy, and I'm not saying anything, you know, against. I think it's awesome that he won. As a matter of fact, him or Mark were the two that I was really pulling for to win. But when you look at some of these guys, I mean, I think some of these guys that are fishing right now, like some of those guys you mentioned, that you went on Guntersville on a Tuesday afternoon and they're out there. Are they going to have the ability to do that 7 days a week and carry that passion and have a career that's as long as mine? Or are they going to get burnt out?
It's interesting to see. We have that. Like, I mean, like a Tucker Smith will, because the dude's won $1.5 million already, and maybe
he's been an ultimate success story.
Top 20 guys in the world, top 30 guys. That's the obsession that carries him. Like you look at any of the top sports, and it's a guy who shoots a basketball 18 hours a day for 15 years and never loses a passion, or it's the guy who's on the ice, or it's the guy who's play. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some that you're going to see have meteoric rises and then fall off, and other guys that 20 years from now will be, hey, I remember when I saw him when he was 21 and he was on Guntersville on a Tuesday. So I think it's just like in any other sport.
I think you're right. But the point I was trying to make is having the businesses that I've built in the industry, I think it's been good for my career in a lot of ways because it's kept me from getting burnt out on just the tournament scene.
Yeah.
You know, now when I have a tournament coming up, it's like, hell yeah, man, I ain't got to make balsa. I don't have to paint balsa base next week. I get to go to North Carolina and go fishing. You know, like I'm fired up. I'm happy about it, right? So, and then by the time we do a 2 or 3 week stretch, I'm kind of ready to be back in my shop. I'm ready to get home and do some more, you know, do some more stuff here. So it's a good back and forth to me, and they connect so well. It's been a good blend for me.
I got you off track. So I want to go back to that because I like that timeline, and you're on a lot of shows and you talk a lot about the balsa, but I want to go back. We were at 2014, you had broken your leg, and that was kind of right when you had decided. And so let me get this straight. So that lead company, that's what turned into Boss.
That is correct.
Okay. So correct. Boss, Tackle, you, Gary Klein.
That is correct.
Okay.
And
but
Charles Himes. Charles Himes, myself, and Gary Klein formed Balsa. Me and Charles actually formed Balsa and brought Gary in, but yeah, we are all part of Balsa Outdoors.
Okay. So then you break the leg, you're making 50 balsas a year, you're giving some to the buddies, you're running out, and that was when you really...
Brother, I lost you. You froze up on me. Yep, there you go.
Am I back? That was when you really, like that 2014 is when you really were like, all right, let's see if we can sell some of these things?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much.
And was it right off the bat that they were successful? I mean, really didn't have to. No, really.
No,
it
not
wasn't
really.
Like a balsa, like, oh my gosh, we can get these things.
You know, I mean, a little bit, but when I started, I had like 3 models, right? I had like 2 square bills and a flat bait.
Yeah.
Because for a boy that lives in South Mississippi, I mean, what more do you need? You know? So, I mean, yes, it was successful. I definitely sold some product, but the business is more successful today just because of we've grown it, we've grown the brand, we've got a lot more dealers all over the country that we've built relationships with all over through the years. We've built an established customer base. We now have a whole line of soft plastics. So Black Label now is far more successful than it was then. But yeah, it was obviously successful in the beginning, or it wouldn't have reached where it is now.
What was your relationship with Ed Chambers?
Me and Ed were never like really personal buddies. I met Ed a couple times, spoke to him on the phone a few times, but I never really was like. It's not like me and Ed were like
You want
really
like a protege thing where you were calling bouncing stuff off?
It wasn't. It wasn't like a protege thing. But when Ed passed away, I had a mutual friend of mine that knew the family fairly well that reached out to me and said, "Hey, the family doesn't want to continue Ed's Balsa products. Would you be interested in buying some of his equipment?" So I was able to buy his duplicate machine and a few other little small odd end things. And when I bought that, people found out that I bought it. They started asking me, "Hey, can you bring some of Ed's baits back to life?" And I felt like it was, there was a lot of people who were asking me for them. I didn't really do it in an effort to try to copy Ed. As a matter of fact, all mine have my own little spin on them. I changed certain little things about them. But I did make some baits to kind of replace the baits that he was making that were real popular that guys just couldn't get anymore. And I've had so many people tell me, "Thank you for doing that," because it's enabled them to collect or put up the baits they have from Ed. Because for a Balsa guy, one of Ed's mint crankbaits it's like a trophy of its own because there's just not so many out there, and there's definitely not any more being made. Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. And they can buy mine to fish with them. And I'm actually got a lot of guys now I've got a lot of guys now that have started collecting mine as well. But that's pretty much my connection with Ed. I hope Ed looks down and smiles on what I'm doing. I guess one day I'll get to shake his hand and we'll find out. But I've done it, and I've always tried to give him credit for the things that I've done that have connected to him. I think that's fair to him and what he done. So that's pretty much the relationship that I have with Ed.
I feel like the custom balsa and the stuff that you sell, and this will kind of transition into the plastics because this is old school stuff, Cliff, and you're also heavily involved in new school stuff. But from a business standpoint, I feel like you always have a market for the balsa baits, regardless of what the hot baits are, an urchin, a minnow, forward-facing sonar. Like, do you see a core group of anglers that are like, "Hey, I'm a balsa guy. I'm a handmade crankbait guy. I don't care what's out there. Like, this is what I enjoy doing. I'm not trying to become a professional fisherman or win tournaments. I enjoy taking this bait and going and catching fish on the weekends, and I'll continue to buy it regardless of what the hot bait is."
Yes, you do. And don't get me wrong, you do definitely have that, but a lot of those guys are still winning tournaments. It's all about what a guy's home water is.
True.
I mean, you take a guy that lives on the Pascagoula River over here. He's not really high and mighty on a pinging minnow. He will take a Black Label Rex square bill over a Sakamata shad or a high roll or any day of the week, right? So you always do have sales based around seasons of the year. There's those times where certain bodies of water get a lot of color in them, and the flat side crankbait just becomes unbeatable. There's times where you have a lot of bodies of water, more predominant river systems and tidal systems where, your square bill crankbaits and things of that nature, they're always going to play. And then there's also those times where you can't beat, a jig head minnow or some of the new, even more creative things that we're seeing now. But, I think that fishing tackle has always been a revolving door. I mean, we've always seen trends in this sport. I mean, forever, and sometimes it cycles and comes back, sometimes it doesn't, and some things become just established products that are here to stay. A great example of that would be like the Cinco. When the Cinco first came out, it was a huge craze, but here's the thing, it's been 20 years and dude, it still works. And I think that is the separation. And it doesn't matter today, tomorrow, 100 years from now, there's going to be a situation where a Balsa square bill is always going to work. And that's what keeps it relevant. Same thing with a spinnerbait, same thing with a buzzbait, same thing with a scope and minnow. Same thing with those are established lure categories that are always going to be relevant based on body of water conditions and times.
Great question from Mark Edwards here. Do you see young kids, high school kids, college kids, young kids that are ate up with the balsa game, or is it an older demographic that's getting older, or is there a next generation that's coming up that's all about this stuff too that we're just not really seeing?
There's definitely
in the little tournament world.
There's definitely some young guys that are eat up with it, and again, it's the young guys that live on bodies of water that really suit it well. You know, are you going to sell a ton of balsa baits to a 20-year-old that lives on Lake St. Clair? Probably not.
Yeah.
But you take a guy that grows up on the Arkansas River.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The second he goes out there and watches, you know, someone else make it work or sees it work for himself, then yeah, he realizes the power of it and is hooked on it for life for fishing that body of water. But I will say that, you know, I'm not saying it's dying, but I don't feel like it's really growing.
Okay.
But I'll also say this. I think if Takahira wouldn't have won at High Rock, it could have almost died.
Yeah.
I mean, Takahira saved the balsa bait. I mean, Bagleys weren't being produced. Lee kind of was on the verge of getting out, you know, Sisson. And it wasn't really, there were not very many good available balsa baits out there to be found. Takahira's win at High Rock kept it up, and
Kevin Short won an Elite Series. Aaron Martins won a All-Star event in Ada, Illinois.
Aaron Martins was a balsa bait freak, dude. There is literally no telling how many Black Label balsa baits I gave Aaron.
Really? So, like, would you have like hours-long conversations with Aaron about balsa baits, and he's like, "Oh, can you do this? Can you do something?"
And I was around Aaron, that's the first thing he'd want to do. Hey, man, let me see all your balsa baits, and he'd have them all in our boat, you know, before takeoff and looking at them. But Aaron was like that about everything. Aaron was just one of those guys that was totally passion-driven about fishing. But he understood there was a scenario where a balsa bait really shined, and he was really into all the custom stuff of any kind. But, you know, I don't think these lure categories are going to go away completely. I mean, if the Alabama rig didn't kill them and the pinging minnow didn't kill them and the things that we've got going on now haven't killed them, if they survived, if they've weathered the storm of that, then I feel like it's obvious to say or think that they're here to stay.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually have a poster in, because I'm from Decatur, Illinois. It was September 20th through 23rd, 2012, the Decatur All-Star Week. And Aaron was on, it split it between Shelbyville and Decatur. And Aaron went to Decatur, where there's 7 bass in the entire system.
Yeah, 5 of them live in the same ditch.
And they do. And Aaron took that old big balsa and was just ticking it off of the little stretches of riprap to get that done. And then he met some of the local Assumption Bass Club guys and talked a couple of them into going jogging around the lake during the off day.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So here's my next question then. So you've got this dialed in, you've got 75 different models, you're fishing the Elite Series, you're doing all this. What made you say, oh, hey, let's go make soft plastics now? Because that to me seems like it would just be an absolute nightmare to get into the soft plastics after you've got the balsa already dialed in.
Yeah, I a lot of times bite off more than what I need to, but the soft plastics thing was something that I kind of always wanted to do. I mean, I'd played with it on the level of, you know, making them in your garage, making them in your carport, and that's a great. I mean, my title sponsor on my boat wrap is KDM. That's Kirby Design and Manufacturing, and that's what he specializes in is hand pour molds. Hand injection molds for the garage hobbyists. I've got all kind of videos of me doing it on my YouTube channel, and I think it's awesome. But the problem with Cliff Pace is when I get into something, I don't really know when to stop until I'm satisfied that I'm where I want to be.
Is that why there's 75 colors of each one and 19 different models? Yeah, just
like the balsa baits, right? I mean, we got the 70-something models, and I was like, okay, it's time to probably maybe slow down on this. I think we got our bases covered for the most part.
Yeah.
But I do have some new ones that I'm working on now. I'd like to get it to 100. I think 100 is a good round number. But you know, the plastic deal for me is just something that I always wanted to do. I got into playing with it at home, and I got the opportunity to buy some equipment. So some high capacity injection equipment. And I knew Lance with Kirby Design and Manufacturing at the time. I talked to him a bunch about being able to make me production molds for it. He said that was something that he knew he could do. So I bit the bullet and got bought the equipment and got started and put Black Label in the soft plastic business. And it's been good. It's kind of like diversifying your portfolio in the stock market, Matt, for the lack of better words. For me, looking at my business, it's just one more asset that my business has. It's one more service that we can offer. And I don't have to really buy soft plastic anymore. So that's cool. And I love it if I can, if I need something or want something special made, it's at my fingertips. And again, that's kind of where all this got started. Remember, my entire business got started around my desire to have something for me to fish with. If I like to play with it, it's something that we're definitely going to make. That normally always gets a priority for me. And I've just been lucky that there's enough guys that like the same things that I do that'll buy enough of it that actually keep us here every day.
How long did the high roller minnow process take? And did you know everything that went into basically a fluke on a jig head to where guys would go, oh yeah, I'm going to choose this one?
Well,
or was
the whole deal with the minnow is getting one that will roll. You want one that when you shake it, it doesn't just do this. It actually has this action. Having this action, let me get a high roller. I've got one right here.
Okay.
So this is a high roller. If you notice on the high roller, when you get this bait to roll, right? When you get it to start to roll, you create a color flash with it. And it also slows the bait down. People don't realize it, but it does. It slows the momentum of the bait down. And as it starts rolling, you get more tail action out of it. It looks more lifelike, and it just works better. And the issue is getting one to do that. It took us about, 3 or 4 months of prototyping to get one that would roll the way we wanted it to. We make a specific high roller head for it. It's not anything crazy, but if you put
that's
our
the primal, right?
The primal, if you put our primal high roller head in the high roller and you tie a loop knot, my daughter can make it roll. Okay. And that's what everybody, including the fish, want in a minnow bait is that rolling action. So, and I wanted to make mine roll in a way that was kind of creative, not just a try to copy something else that's out there. Everything I do, I really like to try to put my own little spin on it, where you can stay inside the parameter of what's reality, but make it your own if you can. It's kind of like what I was talking about the baits that I've made out of balsa that are similar to Ed's. They're not identical. I put my own little spin on everything that we make. I even put my own little spin. So this is our OFO, which is a bait we just released, and we are currently in the process of getting some more of these ready to go. Probably won't pull that off.
Currently sold out.
Yeah, for the most
Shocker.
part. But the cool thing about when I've been fishing with this style bait now for almost 2 years.
Okay.
I really saw the power of this bait at times last year. But the thing that I hated about this bait is the ones that I was buying, whenever you fish with it, if you had this rigged on a hook and you laid it on the deck of your boat and didn't use it for a little while, or if you made a mistake and left it rigged and put it in your rod locker, it was destroyed. Like you had to literally, it's like they were like a pork frog,
This is my last one.
Right.
It's in a crumpled up box with the hook still in it on the original wire, and I guard it with my life, and I have taken it out of my boat every time I'm not fishing with it, and I bring it in a climate controlled environment in the house.
And that's aggravating because if you forget, or if something bumps it, then it's toast. So the OFO from Black Label, my main focus on that was to solve that. So this one's made from a material that you can literally put this bait. I can store this bait in my boat in a Ziploc bag for a month. just over in the corner with something sitting on it where it's like this. And when I take it out of that bag, it will instantly go back to its perfect shape. And it's just a difference in material. It is still very tough. I mean, you can see it's made from TPE. It's very elastic. You can't tear it up.
Why isn't everything else made from TPE? Is it just hookup ratio? Because a lot of the other plastics you're burying the hook in. Like, why don't we see TPE and other stuff?
Well, you do. I mean, Z-Man has all of Z-Man's products.
But that's more like this long, stretchy stuff. This is like
the same thing.
Is it really?
This is the same material. This is the exact same material, just at a different durometer. Don't quote me to this. I'm not going to say the exact because I don't know anybody's formula. But this is a very similar material, similar. It's the same base material. I'm sure there's some variances there from a chemical standpoint, but yeah, this is TPE. It's just as durable as a Ned rig or any of the Z-Man Elastec products or the Strike King products that they have. Like their Z2 and things of that nature. I think the reason this material never caught on in other shapes is for exactly what you talk about. It's harder to rig, and it doesn't fish as easily as what a regular plastisol bait would. But that's the main thing with our OFO. Again, we try to put our own spin on it. I wanted to fix the problem I was having with storage issues and the baits getting damaged, so I didn't have to do exactly like you are talking about, where you have to carry it inside, sleep with it beside your bed and make sure nothing knocks it over so it doesn't get ruined. Well, if you get you some of these, you won't have to do it anymore.
Interesting. So you're pretty much fishing with all your stuff now.
No, I mean, there's still other brands of products in my boat. I mean, I order stuff from Tackle Warehouse all the time.
Okay.
And all of us do. But I do fish with a huge percentage of Black Label product. Still fish with a lot of my V&M jigs. Still fish with, some of their soft plastics, which I manufacture their soft plastics here for them, as well as a lot of their jigs. No one brand, I don't care. No one brand can offer everything, Matt. You'd have to have a facility the size of 10 Walmarts. Fishing has gotten to be so niche and so diverse. Mm-hmm. So no, for me to sit here and say, man, everything in my boat's Black Label, that would be an absolute lie. Do I use a lot of Black Label? You bet. Absolutely. I still use a ton of Jackal baits. There's times that I like an ABS crankbait over a Balsa, and that's a whole other story, but that situation does arise. So yeah, I have a lot of different products in my boat, but we all do at the end of the day for the most part. The main thing with the Black Label is, I've just made baits that I knew I would want to fish with and tried to solve problems that I have with baits so that I have a better version of that similar category bait for my own self, for my own personal use. And we put them on the market and they've done well. So we're going to keep moving forward in the same way.
A little bit of a selfish question here, but Gabe also brought it up. He said your hollow point worm is legit. And for those who haven't seen it, now I haven't used this, but I've seen it, and I'm curious on your there's the hollow point worm right there. So I am
we have three models in that family now. We have the standard hollow point 7-inch. We have a hollow point finesse now, and because of the Nico craze, here I'll grab one. We just came out this year with
I don't even know how to describe that for the iTunes listeners. So it looks like a finesse worm, but it has like a cup or a paddle. How would you describe it?
So this is the new member of the hollow point family, and this is the hollow point fat. And I made this because I wanted one that was a little more suitable for a Nico rig. Yep. And it's basically the same diameter as the Cinco style bait from here forward.
Yep.
But so this is the hollow point tail. Okay. So you can see if you lay it and look at it from the top down, it has a bulb tail with a little stinger tip on it. But if you look on the other side, it's cut out.
Yeah.
See how it's cut out right here? And what that does is it gives you a straight tail worm that just has, a lot more action. So when you Nico rig this, if you put this to where I like to rig it where my hook is on the side where the cup is facing towards me, so my hook would go on this side.
Okay.
As you drag this, that makes that tail kind of do this because that water is pushing into that cup. If you put it on a shaky head, any of the hollow points, as it's sinking, that tail wants to swim, and that tail's a lot more responsive. If you just barely jiggle it, that tail moves. It's just a more lifelike style of a straight tail worm.
Yeah, I'm a big you call it what you want. I call it a chicken rig. That is where you
like a little miniature Carolina rig.
No, it's a chicken rig where it's almost like a reverse Nico.
Oh, Texas rig of Nico.
Yeah, with the weight in the head on that,
and then it kind of Nico in Mississippi.
Yeah, that is. I've gotten out of more jams in the opens. Like pretty much anywhere you see a finish that starts with a 4, 5, or 6 next to my name on it, there's a good chance. There's a good chance that was a chicken rig derb.
Right.
I feel like that worm would be ideal for that.
It would. It absolutely would.
So, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, I just want to touch a little bit on the water. You're in an interesting situation where you got a lot left to fish for this year, Cliff. But you got to catch them to jump up there into the Bassmaster Classic and get a shot at becoming one of the few guys. One of the few guys with 2 to your name. It's hard to believe that it's been 13 years since really you won the Bassmaster Classic.
It scares me because if the next 13 go by as fast as the last 13, I'm going to be old really fast.
Yeah, it's cool. I was just on Grand for the opening, and it's just you dip into certain areas and drive past, and you're like, oh, that's the dock that Cliff was fishing in the Classic, or that's a little stretch that you're fishing in the Classic. It's just it's got to feel cool to just be part of that history.
I'm very thankful for that blessing, and for exactly what you just said. That week kind of solidified me with the history of the sport of bass fishing, and that's something that I'm very, very, very blessed to be able to say and very thankful for.
And you got the dub when it was still a $500,000, so that's awesome. That helped too. That's also a bonus. So we'll take a quick break. When we come back, a little bit of on the water stuff with Cliff Pace, bait maker, bait designer, Elite Series Pro. We'll be back right after this. It is Tuesday. Let's talk about time flies. It's June 2nd already. We'll be back. BTL.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Before there were hashtags, there were handshakes and shared stories. They gave us confidence to make our first cast and chase our dreams. They taught us to fish, and in the process, taught us about life. They taught us that success isn't just about reaching the top. It's about lifting others up. The future isn't just about selling tackle. It's about 3 simple words. Let's go fishing. Here's to the original influencers.
All right, we're back. BTL on a Tuesday, talking with Cliff Pay. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna brag a little. I'm pretty fired up this morning. So we had like a little 5-minute pre-meeting where Cliff was like, "Do we have any topics?" And I was like, "Not really. We're just gonna roll with it." And I've been very happy so far. Fascinating first hour of the show, but I got an email this morning, and it originally marked it as like,
I don't even have one, right? You see what I'm drinking out of.
Yeah. It originally opened it as don't open this email, because it was like a picture of the email. It was from Aaron Bishop. She sent it to me at 8:15, but the title of it, and it's got a photo attached to it, was Jason Kelsey with a BTL koozie. And I was like, man, if AI is getting to the point where they're trying to open stuff, and then I'm like, how would they even know that I had? So I got curious, and I took a flyer on it, and I opened it up, and it is a picture of like Chiefs Super Bowl winner Jason Kelsey drinking a Coors Light out of a BTL koozie, Cliff. Like, I mean,
That's pretty solid, man.
That's big league. You talk about, I mean, they got one of the top 5 podcasts in the world, one of the top athletes in the world. Like, and
but
I'm looking.
You told me, you're like, I have no idea how they even got it.
Yeah. So I'm looking in my studio right now, and I had 500 koozies made. And it took me a while to realize, like back when Jeffries ran BTL, I was like, why don't we have like hats and koozies and stuff that we can give? It took me a while to realize that Jeffries was making X amount on BTL a year, and when he hit a certain number, he was out. And any promotional material that took away from that bottom dollar wasn't going to happen. So I'm in this thing for indefinitely. So I'm still trying to promote. So I had these made. I gave some out at the Classic, and I still have 200 left. So there's 250 of these BTL koozies in circulation. And I'm going to play a little clip, and then I'll hypothesize on the route that this koozie took from the BTL studio in Shawnee, Oklahoma to, and this is where it gets wild, it is on the latest Chasing 10 episode of Randy Moss. And the 3 people in the boat are Randy Moss, Travis Kelsey, and Jason Kelsey. So I'm going to cue this up here. And here it is. We'll share the audio. All right, here it is. This is the latest episode that just dropped. And watch it.
Garage beer, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Y'all ain't bring no garage beer?
I know we failed.
There's Jason.
Like an idiot.
Down the bottom in the green
Screwed that
shirt.
up.
Now
Well,
watch this.
Team's gonna love that I don't have a big old garage beer in my hand right now.
And the crazy thing about it is,
There's
I
Jason.
told him, I was
There's
like,
Randy
well, I
Moss.
don't
I mean,
really
they're out
drink,
on the lake
Yeah.
just fishing.
but I'd have a beer with
You would
that.
have one?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
God dang it.
Look, he pulls it out. There it was.
Lime right now too.
Now, when you tie that on, you're doing a cinch knot or a clinch knot?
That's the BTL koozie.
Dude, you have officially made it in life. That's all I can tell you.
What?
I mean, you're there.
I mean,
You have landed, as they say. You're there.
Yeah, Jason, what are
look
you?
at that. There it is. There's the BTL logo on the bottom of it. It's at the 18-minute mark for anybody who wants to go watch it. But this is the circuitous route that I believe that koozie ended up. So I've been talking with the WBE guys, World Bass Enterprises, who are putting on the multi-million-dollar tournament at the end of this year that's similar to the old TTBC, where they take the top 25 in the elites, the top 25 in the BPT. They put them together. They have this multi-million-dollar tournament with all sorts of
It's going to be an interesting deal.
It is. I really hope it works with all sorts of entertainment and all that. It's legit. We've had them on the show. We've talked to them. So the WBE guys were at the Classic. I had some koozies at the Classic. I gave 3 or 4 koozies to the WBE guys at the Classic. Then after the Classic, they announced a partnership with Randy Moss and his Chasing 10 series, where he's partnering with the WBE to promote that through his series. So somehow one of those koozies then made it into Randy Moss's boat from the WBE guys. And then when Randy Moss had the Kelseys on the show, that koozie must have been in the boat, which was then picked up by Jason Kelsey on a hot day. It looks like it's fairly hot. They're all wearing shorts. And that's how the BTL koozie ended up being used by Jason Kelsey. Thoughts on that?
Hey, man. Feather in your cap. That's all I can say.
I'll take it. All right. Speaking of which, I don't know if the WBE, if a top 25 in the Angler of the Year is still within reach for you, Cliff, but I mean, you got a lot to fish for in the second half of the season. You're in the 50s in the points. It looks like it's going to go down 40, 41. You're right there to get back in the Classic.
Yeah, I think it's 41 already because of the gentleman that won the Open the other day. Didn't fish them all.
Yeah,
So
Jason
I
played.
think
Sorry,
it's already-
Jason
I
played
think
for
it's
the
already at
Eagles.
41,
Travis
and-
played for the
Yeah,
Chiefs.
it's reachable. I've had a better, a decent year this year. Just Murray did not go as planned. It's so easy to have a bad tournament in the Elite Series now. I mean, it's crazy to me how competitive our sport has become. I mean, understand this. The last time we went to Murray, 15 pounds a day was like 50th.
Yeah.
I caught 31 pounds for 2 days and finished like 82nd. So the sport there's no room for error. I mean, there's just not. Everybody out there is very capable and very good, and the weights that it takes now is just unbelievable. I call it the 3-pound live scope curve. If it's a live scope event, if you think it's going to take 14 to get paid, it's actually going to take 17.
Do you factor that into your practices now?
Man, I think everybody factors it into everything. I mean, it is proven how dominant it is. You know how dominant of a force it is. It's proven that there's no body of water it's not a factor on. You know, 2-3 years ago, we'd have events on our schedule, and guys would say, "Well, we want to worry about it there," and that's how it would get won. So yeah, you bet you have to factor it in. It's part of the sport, absolutely on all levels.
How have you worked the scope tournaments into kind of your strategy now? Is it one where you go, you always take that into factor? I mean, I talked to guys off the record. There's not many guys who talk about it on the record, but they'll say, I let the fact that you could use live scope screw me up in this tournament. Whereas if I had just stuck with what I knew and what my gut was telling me to do, I would have had a good finish. But because I didn't grow up with it, then I end up spending the majority of my practice trying to find it. And then it's by the time I've reverted back to swim baits around docks, I'm like, son of a gun, if I'd done this for 8 hours, I would have had 14 a day. Like I heard that a lot about like the Lake Martin event. A lot of old school guys that were like, damn, I could have done well on this, but that was in the back of my mind. Are you one of those guys who has learned how to juggle when to go with your instinct, when to go with the scope, how to work it in on the events where it's available?
Not perfectly, no. I can't say that I can juggle it perfectly, but I will say this. This is the one thing that I have learned how to juggle is if it's usable and you want to win, you better be using it. If you just look at the events that we've had this year, and yeah, you're right. Could some guys made some checks throwing fishing docks at Martin and not being focused with it? Yeah, you could have, but you weren't going to win. No way. The event we're fixing to go to next, Tank. I mean, look what was done there last year, with scope. So if you're fishing to win and it's a scope enabled event, odds are that's going to be the way it gets won. Something revolving around that is 100% the way it's going to get won. But there are times I feel like you kind of can push that envelope, but not just with live scope. I mean, I know times that, here's a great old school example, right? I can remember us fishing some tournaments like in June on the Tennessee River, like say Kentucky Lake, and the river be high, just be an odd summer, and there still be water in the bushes. And you could go out there and flip bushes and you could catch a bunch of 3.5 pounders, but you knew in the back of your mind, the second you went and did that you weren't going to be able to win the tournament. So you spend all of your practice time out there looking for a giant school of big postbone females, and somebody finds it and they win the event, but you commit to that completely. You don't get the bush fishing deal totally dialed in. You don't get anything dialed in, and you ended up finishing 92nd. And when you're driving home, you're just going, dude, if I would have just flipped bushes, I would have done so much better. So, I mean, there's decisions along those lines, be it live scope, be it a situation like that. Those decisions were still there even before live scope even existed. That's what makes our sport the sport that it is. What you commit your time to is a big deciding factor on the outcome of the tournament for you. I mean, my Lake Murray event, that's the event this year that's hurt me so bad in the points. And I went out there the first day of practice, and the conditions weren't very good. I tried doing the herring spawn deal. I couldn't make it work. I went in some pockets. I found some fish on the bed. I found a bunch of fish garden fry, and I got sucked into that. I spent the rest of my time chasing that. I caught 15 pounds a day, and they smashed them. Forevermore smashed them doing the herring deal because the conditions changed. And I tried to change with it, but I didn't have them found. I didn't have it dialed in. I didn't know where to go. I spent my time in practice doing the wrong thing, and I paid the price for it. So, live scope or no live scope, all about what you commit to is definitely a deciding factor. You take a guy like Paul Marks, I guarantee you, he never looked for a fish on the bed, never looked for a fish garden fry. He was 100% focused on that, and he made it work. But the flip side of that is, had he not found what he found, he could have had one of those 98th place tournaments. You know, it's all about fishing is always different every time you go. That's why people do it their whole life and don't get bored with it. And it's always a roll of the dice. There's no guarantees. There's no permanent scientific solutions to fishing. You have to just kind of make the best decision you can and go with it. I do feel like you need to trust your gut and your electronics. In today's world, your electronics should be part of your gut.
That's well stated. That's well stated. I also want to get your opinion on this. You're a guy who historically kind of catches them up north. Champlain's, I mean, you've caught them on Cayuga, you've had some good, but you're not like, when we go to the St. Lawrence River, it's not a look out for cliff.
River and me just have had.
That's what I'm saying. It's not a lookout for cliff pace when you get to the smallmouth.
I'm so happy that we can fish the lake this time because I'm hoping that I understand it better than I did the river. You know, I'm not a fish 22 foot deep in a 7 mile hour current guy. I've done, you know, the first time we went there, I did pretty good. And I think I did pretty good one other time, but the other 3 or 4 times we've been there, I have not done well at all. And there's just something about that fishery that I struggle with. And, you know, I've thought about that tournament a lot. I know it's going to be a deciding factor. I'm going to be hopefully right there towards the end if I can have 2 good tournaments leading up to that. But I do wish we were going to Cayuga over the St. Lawrence River. The St. Lawrence River and me are not best friends.
I say that to say this. So you can take, you kind of, there's, you know, St. Clair was mixed in. They've ended on the Mississippi River before, which you could say is a mixed bag. It's not really a smallmouth fishery there, but you have to go back to basically 2020, which was kind of the revamped COVID year. And granted, you had taken some years off. You're over there fishing the BPT, and you came back into, but since then, there's only been 1 year since that COVID year where it hasn't been smallmouth to end the season, which is a quarter of the season. And I know points count in the first 2 the same they do in the last 2. But as a competitor, is it hard? Is it harder, do you think, for the field to make up points on smallmouth fisheries to end the quarter of the season than to mix in other styles of fisheries when you've got the entire country that's open to it to kind of end the year? It seems like, just from a fan spectator standpoint, it's like, okay, we're going to have all these events and then we'll just throw them up north for the last couple of the years and it'll pan out. I'd like to see, like, throw some of those grinders at the end of the year instead of like that. Yeah. I think would be, is that something that for a guy like you
end the year in August at the Sabine River?
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see.
With all the marbles on it.
Yeah, with everything on the table. But, you know, the tournaments up north, the weights are so tight that it is hard to make up ground. But also, by the time you get to the end of the year, normally you have a fair amount of spread in your points to where it's kind of hard to make up ground no matter where you go. I mean, you're going to have a lot of guys at the last tournament. You're going to probably have 25 or 30 guys that even if they don't catch a bass, they're still going to make the classic, right? Because there's going to be a points gap there that has grown over the course of the season. But I do agree with you. I do miss, you know, our schedule now seems like it's spawn, something funny, and then smallmouth. And then it's kind of like, what? And we've done that year after year after year after year. So, yeah, I would like to see us have some of those, you know, early summer, a little bit of offshore stuff mixed in, things of that nature going on, just to kind of break things up. I would like to see us fish more of the tidal waters. Just, you know, I love, like, everybody, when I get tickled every time that we have to go to like a Sabine, everybody's like, oh my God. And that's the one I'm looking forward to the most because it's just like home for me. It's the type water that I grew up on. And so it does kind of frustrate me a little bit that the smallmouth guys over the course of the last 5 years, they've got to fish 10 tournaments that are in their wheelhouse, and I've got to fish 1. So, yeah, I think it is time for a change.
And I think also with the live now, I don't know what the numbers were for Bassmaster. I like watching the smallmouth tournaments. I also like watching the minnow tournaments. I enjoy watching that, but I do like watching the grinders. Like the patch slopper on the
Absolutely.
Sabine where it eats the buzz
Absolutely.
bait next to the stump and it's a 2 3/4 and it's like his tournament right there. Like
That's
I
it.
think as good as the live is and as good as they are at showing everything now, that the story doesn't have to be the size of the fish, that there's even more intriguing stories where every fish is even more valuable, even if it is only a 2.5 or 3 pounder.
I agree with that 100%. I think a lot of fans feel that way.
I would agree. So it's been 6 years, 7 years since you won on the BPT. Burning desire.
19.
Yeah,
my last
burning
tour
desire
was-
to get another first place trophy in your hands, or you are
Dude, if
putting
I
your
didn't
life where
desire
whatever
that, I
happens,
wouldn't.
happens.
If I didn't desire that, I wouldn't still be doing it. No, I'm not one of those guys that's just like whatever happens, happens. I'm never going to be like that about anything that I do. That's not my personality. If I reach a point where I feel like that about it, then I won't go. I'll stay home. I'm still very competitive driven, and yes, I want to do well. I want to fish some more classics. The classic is really the main reason that I came back to the Elite Series, to be honest. Leaving the Bass Pro Tour, I fished the Red Crest over there, and it just didn't have the same feel to me as the Classic did. I missed the Classic, and that was one of the biggest deciding factors in me coming back to the Elites was the Classic. So that's definitely on my mind. It's something that I want to accomplish. And yeah, I do feel like I could still win some events. If I didn't, I wouldn't still I'm not going to do something if I feel like I'm just wasting my time.
How much different do you think Hartwell is in 2017 March when the next classic is there than when you finish second to Alton in 2008?
It's all going to depend on whether they choose to allow or not allow electronics, live scope in that event. If you can't use live scope, I think you're going to see it be very similar to what it was when Alton and I fished it. But if you can, it will be a whole different can of worms.
That'd be crazy too, because that'd be your 9th classic. It'd be the 4th one you fish on Hartwell.
Yeah, how about that?
That's wild.
And that's what I was talking about a while ago about the change of venues.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bodies of water in this country that we should go to that we never have. And I know that it's all about logistics and it's all about, it's a business for them, and I respect that completely. But it would be nice to see some, throw some things in the mix.
What is down there, and what do you have down there in the Mississippi Delta?
We have the Pascagoula River. That's the Pascagoula River is the largest undammed river in the continental United States of America. It's the largest, but understand what I'm saying. It's not the largest river. It's the largest river that doesn't have a dam on it. There's no locking dams. There's no weir dams. There's none of that on it. It's this free flowing river. We fished that a pretty good bit. That's the biggest piece of the Mississippi Delta. But, the Louisiana Delta is just as close to me as that is, kind of where I live. I can be in Slidell to fish like the Pearl River, Delacroix, Carnarvon, that Delta system in about an hour and a half. I can be at Pascagoula River in about an hour and 15 minutes.
Is that like a good venue for like an Elite Series?
I don't know how well the Pascagoula would do there. It wouldn't fish much different than the Sabine. It would be very similar. They had a couple of FLWs there several years ago. Actually, a pretty good many years ago. I remember Scott Martin won one running to Mobile, and I can't remember who won the other one. But it's a big enough fishery that it could be done.
Anywhere else you'd like to go, like maybe outside of Mississippi, where you're just like, man, I'd like to fish a derb there?
I tell you, a great lake that I've never fished an event on in my life that I would like to go to is Seminole.
Huh.
Seminole is one of those that just sometimes, some way, just seems to fall on the plate like once every 9 years.
Yeah.
And
they'll have an
every
open
time they
there
have
every
an
now
event
and
there,
then.
It's a catch fest. And the last time they fished it is when I was at the BPT, and the year before that they fished it was the year that I broke my leg. So in the course of 20-something years of fishing the Elite Series, I've never fished an event on Lake Seminole.
That lake scares me. I've never been on it, Cliff. but just hearing about it and watching it, that lake scares me more than any other lake in the country. It just looks like it's a nightmare to run. It's a nightmare to understand.
There's no way it's worse than Santee.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, dude, you could take the stumps out of Santee and build 50 duplex communities out of.
Yeah, that's true. It seems, I still feel like Santee, though, you can be like, hey, if I want to get here, I can take this trail and go here. Like, Seminole just
There's only one trail at Santee. It just runs across the lake.
Yeah, that's true. But for
there's one boat lane.
Seminole, and then you throw all the grass into it, too, which is hard for me to understand.
I just think it's a really good fishery.
Yeah, no, I'm saying it is great. I mean, you look at the weights that you have there, and you look how Cifuentes is one, and then you look at Latimer and all the different kind of styles, and you're seeing big weights, and you can compete with scope, without scope. You can run a long ways. You can stay close. You've got big bass. You've got Florida strain. You can fish it 12 months out of the year. I mean, it's a great tournament venue. I'm just saying in my head, like, do you ever have venues that you've never been to, and then you get there, and you're like, okay, this is not how I pictured it. That's how T-Bend was for me.
I could see where Seminole would kind of lead off that way, but spend as much time as I have like on Barnett and things like that, the navigation part of it doesn't terrify me like it probably should. But I do know Seminole does have a lot of areas that are hard to get around on, unless you just spend enough time to know it. But it's a venue that I would love to see us go to. I'd like to fish it.
Ross Barnett here's this nice lake, and then anywhere where there's a fish isn't even on the map, and you have to know like which 3 trees to point your boat at and trim up to get into, and then it opens up and there it is. It's like glorious stuff. Or you could just stay in the marina and Ned rig and hope you catch 12 pounds.
Yeah,
those are your 2 options.
Ross Barnett. Barnett's actually an impressive lake. I know every time we go there for an open, it
hasn't shown out.
But dude, I mean, Saturday after Saturday after Saturday after Saturday out there, if you don't have 20, you might as well pull them out. It's unbelievable to fish that lake kicks out for the amount of pressure that it gets. No,
I do like that lake. It is cool. I mean, I spent one whole tournament in the marina just trying to get points, and I don't
fish it at all. The last time I fished it is when we had the Elite there.
Okay.
And that was in like 16.
Was that 17? The one that Connell won?
Yeah. That's the last time I've been there.
Van Dam, and they were doing a bunch of stuff around the pad stems and all that stuff. And then Connell went up where the current was and flipped in and caught one like last minute and won his first Elite Series.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah, that was a good tournament. There was a lot of cool stuff that was going on in that. I think that tournament, that was back when I was doing Duck It on Tour stuff. And I went out with Gary for a day of practice. I still have one of the spinner blades that he gave me. He fashioned a spinner bait with a willow leaf blade on it that was the size of a Ben Parker slap spoon. And it blew my absolute mind. I mean, he put a spinner bait blade on that was the size of this water bottle and was the thing looked like a freaking disco party every time he cranked the handle and was cranking it around the pad stems. I'll never forget.
You're like one of them big gizzard shad.
I mean, dude, the blade was 7 inches long.
Mm-hmm. Everything has a time and a place.
I still have a bunch of giant blades that I carry, and I've never put one on since that. No, I have the one that he gave me afterwards, and then I found a bunch of them in like a discount tackle thing, and have not put it on since. Anything else before I let you go? I know you got work to do. You got a jackpot, a Tuesday night jackpot to get ready for.
I've got an 18-wheel load of plastisol coming in today. I'm fixing to get up and unload or get ready to unload that. And we're going to go fish the Tuesday night jackpot tonight. That'll be fun. Get to see all my buddies and work as much as we can in between. So, hey, it's always fun to be on here with you, Matt. I appreciate you taking the time to have me on this morning. And thank you.
I do want to get down there and do some stuff from the shop, get back on the water. I know we filmed that thing back in 2015.
Well, just come on. All you got to do is look at our schedule, and if it's not an Elite Series event that week, I'll be here.
I'll package some stuff for you. I don't care. You can put me to work. You still got your buddies from high school that are working for you?
When you were here the last time, one of those guys is still with me. Yes.
That's badass. All right. Thanks, Cliff. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. Y'all be good.
All right. See ya. Just as a matter of formality, I got excited there, and I knew that Travis played for the Chiefs. Jason played for the Eagles, both Super Bowl champions. I mixed that up when I was saying it. So, all right, we'll take a final break. When we come back, kind of wrap things up, unpack things, look forward to the rest of the week. BTL on a Tuesday. We'll be back right after this.
As a professional angler, there's only one thing that connects you to your paycheck. Probably the most crucial part to tournament bass fishing. I use Sunline because they have a line for every application. Shooter, FX2, All Might, super light line, big stuff, big sticks. Sunline has you covered.
Sharp as can be. Super strong, super durable.
Really good penetration.
Thinner and stronger.
Catch fish after fish.
I want to make sure that I'm using the best stuff possible.
World's finest hook.
World's finest hook.
Gamakatsu. World's finest hook.
When I'm in a tournament, conditions are constantly changing and every second matters. With the Deep Dive app, I can instantly pull up all the current lake conditions all in one spot. So no more looking at weird government websites. In just one quick glance, I have water clarity, water level, wave forecast. It's all right there in the Deep Dive app. Download the Deep Dive app and get all the tools you need to put together an awesome tournament.
At Beatdown Outdoors, we know you depend on your gear to hold up in any condition. We built for that. We test for that. In fact, we pride ourselves in that. Because we know when the time comes to test your gear, you aren't going to take it easy, so we won't. We build premium, made-in-the-USA products that you can rely on in the moments when your equipment should be the last thing on your mind.
Your early morning mentality is your every hour mentality. All gas, no brakes. Focus, purpose, power. Destined for the water, but confident everywhere else. A calming buzz before the storm, the truth of nature itself. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. There's a limit out there, but it's not with your gear. Unrelenting power delivery. Unparalleled weight savings. Keeping you on the water, whether you run a 9.9 or outscoping your best 5. In this rare air, there's power in the silence. It's a mindset, thinking only of the things that matter and freeing your mind from the things that you trust.
All right, welcome back, BTL on a Tuesday. Big shout out to Cliff Pace. I know he's busy. You can see behind, like he's got his hands on everything that is in that company, and fully expect to make a run. Try to get back to his 4th classic on Lake Hartwell in 2027. His 9th classic overall, and was on the BPT there. Got a win there, I think, in 2019. David Walker on the show tomorrow. Then we're back with Frank. Then we're going to throw a bonus show in. Brandon Cobb. We really dive into, I've already recorded that one. We really dive into some shallow water strategies. He dives into that fluke stick that he likes to throw, the wacky rig, some shallow water, kind of back to some nitty gritty power fishing stuff. Thursday, day 4 with Frank Scalish. If you guys don't follow Frank Scalish on Instagram, Frank posted an absolute humdinger. Frank Scalish. I'll just give you a little bit of a teaser on it. Like, I mean, it's just like fish after fish after fish. And he said, the spawn is over. Amen. Caught several heavy limits today on a crank and Carolina rig. And I know that it is against everything that is BTL and what I've tried to build over here. But Frank will be live on Thursday. There comes a time when sometimes you just have to bite the bullet. And I think we're going to be doing a revamped, brand new hour-and-a-half long show on the ins and outs of the Carolina rig with Frank Scalish on Thursday. But to make up for that, coming in the near future, one of the best shows, the most hotly debated shows from 2025 was the top 10 FFS anglers alive right now that are fishing a competitive tournament trail. And we'll be bringing in a couple experts. I know Jody White's going to be a part of that. And I haven't letting them get settled in the new farm digs, but Milliken, probably bring Milliken in for that, and maybe someone else. And we are going to rank in order right now, as of 2026, the top 10 scopers. So that'll make up for the Sea Rig. So the people that are upset about the Sea Rig show can enjoy the scope show. And then the people who say that I don't respect the non-scopers, I can point to the Sea Rig show to say, we just did a Sea Rig show. So no, CTL is not done. That was Crappie Talk Live. It's just when it comes to the bass season and this, there's one of me, and I don't have time to knock out more CTL episodes. You can go back and watch. We did like kind of a test pilot, 4 or 5 episodes, 4 or 5 on the water episodes last fall, where we kind of teach guys how to catch crappie, primarily using the electronics. That'll be back this fall. But for now, it's just kind of a break in between. So that's all we got for today. Same time, same place. Tomorrow, David Walker, legend of the sport, joins the show. We'll talk to everyone later. See ya.